I found out my company was sold from a LinkedIn press release. Not from my co-founder. Not from the buyer. Not from our lawyer. From a public announcement. Posted at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Tech firm acquired by Valley Capital Partners for $8.3 million. I read it 3 times. Then I call Daniel. My co-founder. My supposed equal partner. My best friend for 5 years. He didn't answer. I texted, "What the fuck is this?" He responded 2 hours later, "Can we talk in person?" I said, "We're talking now." He wrote, "I was going to tell you." The deal closed faster than expected. Faster than expected. Like he'd been planning to tell me how eventually. Like I wasn't a 50% owner. Like I hadn't spent 5 years building this company from nothing. Like my signature wasn't legally required to sell. Except, it wasn't. Because 6 months earlier, Daniel had restructured our equity. And I'd signed papers I didn't fully read. So let me tell you exactly how someone can sell your company, pocket millions, and leave you with nothing while you're still working there. Daniel and I met in college. Computer science program. Same cohort. Both obsessed with startups. Senior year, we started working on an idea. A SaaS platform for small businesses. Project management meets CRM meets invoicing. Nothing revolutionary. But we thought we could do it better than the bloated enterprise tools. We launched a beta 6 months after graduation. No funding. Just us. Coding at night, working day jobs, living off ramen. Year 1, we got our first 10 paying customers. $49 per month each. $490 total monthly revenue. It wasn't much. But it was proof. We incorporated. Filed as an LLC. Split equity 50/50ths. Equal partners. Equal say. Equal ownership. That was the deal. Daniel handled product and engineering. I handled marketing, sales, and operations. We complemented each other. We trusted each other. Year 2, we hit $10,000 per month in revenue. Year 3, $50,000 per month. We raised a small angel round. $500,000. Gave up 15% equity. Daniel and I still held 42.5% each. Still equal. Still partners. Also, I thought. Year 3 is when things started shifting. Subtle at first. Daniel started taking meetings I wasn't invited to. Just investor check-ins, he'd say. Nothing major. He started talking about growth strategies and scalings and exit opportunities. I thought it was normal founder talk. Everyone in our circle talked about exits. IPOs. Acquisitions. It was just startup culture. But looking back, that's when he started planning. Not an exit for us. An exit for him. Year 4, Daniel brought in a CFO. Her name was Rachel. Sharp. Experienced. Came from a big tech company. He said, "We need someone who understands finance if we're going to scale." I agreed. I hated dealing with spreadsheets anyway. Rachel was good. She restructured our finances. Set up proper accounting. Built financial models. But she reported to Daniel. Not to both of us. To Daniel. I didn't think much of it at the time. Month 3 of Rachel being there, Daniel scheduled an equity and governance meeting. He said, "We need to clean up our cap table. Make things more investor-friendly." We sat down with Rachel and a lawyer. They walked us through new documents. Operating agreement updates. Equity restructuring. Voting rights. It was dense. Legal jargon. 50 pages of text. The lawyer said, "This is standard for growth stage companies. It protects both founders and makes future fundraising easier." I skimmed it. I saw my name. I saw 42.5% equity. I saw co-founder. I signed. What I didn't see, or didn't understand, was this. Voting rights were no longer tied to equity percentage. Daniel now had supervoting shares. Meaning, even though we both held 42.5% equity, Daniel's shares gave him 65% voting control. And certain decisions, including acquisition offers, only required majority vote. Not unanimous. Majority. Which he now had. I didn't realize what I'd signed. Because I trusted him. And because the lawyer worked for the company, not for me. Year 5, revenue hit $2 million annually. We were profitable. Growing. Had a solid team of 15 people. Daniel started talking about strategic opportunities. One day he said, "I've been getting inbound interest from potential acquirers." I said, "Like who?" He said, "A few private equity firms. Some bigger SaaS companies. Just exploratory conversations." I said, "Are we selling?" He said, "No. But it's good to know our options. Build relationships. You never know." I said, "Okay. Keep me posted." He said, "Of course." He didn't. For the next 6 months, Daniel took meetings I didn't know about. He'd say he was in meeting with investors or doing market research or networking. But he was meeting with buyers. He signed an NDA with a private equity firm. He shared our financials. He walked them through our customer data, our growth projections, our team structure. He negotiated a letter of intent. All without telling me. I found out later, after the sale, that he'd told the buyers I was difficult to work with and that he was the decision maker. He positioned himself as the CEO and me as an employee. Even though we were equal founders. Even though I was still listed as co-founder and COO on our website. Even though I held 42.5% equity. The buyers believed him. Because he controlled the narrative. And I wasn't in the room. Looking back, there were signs. Daniel started being vague about his schedule. Out of office today. Taking some personal time. Following up on a lead. He started asking me weird questions. How attached are you to the company long term? Do you ever think about what you do next? Would you ever want to stay on if we brought in outside leadership? I thought he was just burned out. Startup fatigue. 5 years is a long time. I said, "I'm in this for the long haul. This is our thing." He nodded. Said nothing. 3 months before the sale, he hired a new VP of engineering. Someone to take over Daniel's technical responsibilities so he could focus on strategy. I thought, great. He's delegating. Growing up as a leader. What he was actually doing. Replacing himself. So when the acquisition closed, the company could run without him. Because he wasn't planning to stay. 2 months before the sale, I noticed our lawyer was CC'd on a lot of emails I wasn't included in. I asked Daniel, "What's going on with all the legal stuff?" He said, "Just compliance things. Investor reporting. Boring administration." It wasn't. It was acquisition paperwork. 1 month before the sale, Daniel asked me to take a week off. "You've been grinding hard. Take a break. Go somewhere. Recharge." I thought he was being thoughtful. He wasn't. He just wanted me out of the office while final negotiations happened. I went to visit family. And while I was gone, Daniel closed the deal. I got back from my trip on a Monday. Tuesday morning, I was at home. Drinking coffee. Checking emails. LinkedIn notification. Daniel Harris mentioned in the news. I clicked. Press release. Published an hour ago. Valley Capital Partners acquires SaaS platform for $8.3 million. I read it. Then I read it again. Our company. The one I co-founded. The one on my business cards. Acquired. Past tense. Already done. The press release quoted Daniel. We're excited to join Valley Capital and bring our platform to the next level. This partnership will allow us to scale faster and serve more customers. Partnership? Like it was a merger. Like it was collaborative. Not a sale. Not an exit. Not the end. I scrolled down. Acquisition details. Deal structure. Leadership transition. Daniel would stay on as strategic advisor for 6 months, then exit fully. No mention of me. Not as co-founder. Not as COO. Not at all. I called him. No answer. I called our CFO, Rachel. She answered. I said, "What the hell is going on?" She said, "I'm sorry. Daniel asked me not to say anything until it was final." I said, "It's final? When did this happen?" She said, "The deal closed Friday." Friday. 3 days ago. While I was out of town. I said, "How is this possible? I'm a co-founder. I own 42.5% of the company. How do you sell without my signature?" She paused. She said, "You should talk to Daniel." I hung up. I pulled out the equity documents we'd signed a year earlier. I read them. Actually read them this time. Section 7.3, Acquisition Approval. Any offer to acquire the company requires approval by majority voting interest. Co-founders holding supervoting shares retain final decision-making authority on strategic transactions. Majority voting interest. Not unanimous. Not 50/50ths. Majority. Daniel had it. And I'd signed away my veto power a year earlier. Daniel finally called me back that night. I answered. I said, "You sold our company without telling me." He said, "I was going to tell you. The timing just." I said, "The timing?" "Daniel, I found out from LinkedIn. From a press release. Like I'm a fucking stranger." He was quiet. Then he said, "Look, I know this feels sudden. But it's a good deal. You're going to get paid out." I said, "How much?" He said, "You'll get your equity payout. 42.5% of the proceeds." I said, "Which is how much?" He paused. He said, $1.2 million. $1.2 million. On an $8.3 million acquisition. I did the math in my head. 42.5% of $8.3 million should be $3.5 million. I said, "That's not 42.5%. He said, "It's after debt repayment, legal fees, and founder vesting acceleration." I said, "What debt?" "We don't have debt." He said, "We took a bridge loan last year. For growth capital." I said, "I don't remember signing off on a loan." He said, "It was approved by the board." We didn't have a formal board. Just Daniel, Rachel, and one angel investor who'd checked out years ago. He said, "Look, $1.2 million is still life-changing money. You should be happy." Happy. I built this company for 5 years. I worked 80-hour weeks. I skipped vacations. I took below-market salary. And my co-founder sold it without telling me. For $8.3 million. Kept $5 million plus for himself after all the fees. And told me I should be happy with $1.2 million. I hired my own lawyer. Not the company's lawyer. My own. I asked, "Can I fight this?" He reviewed the documents. He said, "Unfortunately, no. You signed an operating agreement that gave your co-founder majority voting control. The sale was legal." I said, "But I'm a 42.5% owner." He said, "You own 42.5% of the equity." But equity and control are different things. He structured it so he could make unilateral decisions on exits. I said, "Why would I sign that?" He said, "A lot of founders do. Usually it's positioned as protecting the company from deadlock or making us more attractive to investors." I said, "So I have no recourse." He said, "You could argue he breached fiduciary duty by not informing you. But that's expensive to litigate, and the outcome is uncertain. Most judges side with majority voting shareholders in acquisition decisions." I said, "So I just take the $1.2 million and walk away?" He said, "Essentially, yes." I sat there. 5 years. Gone. Not because I failed. Not because the company failed. But because my co-founder decided I was optional. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I tell it because this happens all the time. Co-founders sign documents they don't fully read. They trust their partners. They assume 50/50ths means equal. But equity percentages don't mean control. And control is everything. Daniel didn't betray me with a lie. He betrayed me with paperwork. Legal. Clean. Irreversible. He restructured our equity a year before the sale. He positioned himself as the CEO to buyers. He excluded me from negotiations. And when it was done, he told me I should be grateful. Because technically, he didn't have to give me anything. The $1.2 million? That was legally mine based on equity. But if he'd structured things differently, even that could have been reduced. So here's what I learned. If you're a co-founder, read every document. Not skim. Read. Hire your own lawyer. Not the company's lawyer. Yours. Understand the difference between equity percentage and voting control. And know that equal partners is only true if the paperwork says so. Because the moment someone has majority control, you're not a partner. You're just someone they haven't decided to cut out yet. Co-founders aren't partners. They're just the last people to find out they never were.